Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Zack, for everybody's favorite day that lands in the middle of your week.
Worship Wednesday.
Come on, baby. Never gets old. I'm telling you, there's too much power in that button, Tommy.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a lot of power.
You
and
have a lot of fun with that button.
I do. Probably too much fun. Too much fun. But we're excited y'all came in today. Welcome to Worship Wednesday, where we talk about everything worship. And as you know, we've been bringing in a lot of guests. And so my guest today is my good friend, bass player and vocalist on our worship team. Let's give it up for Mr. Tommy Frederick. Come on now. Welcome. Wait, do I still have it? Yay! Nice. Welcome in, pal.
The only ovation I can really get is one that's automated.
There you go. Hey, listen. That's why I have it, because sometimes I need a little ego boost.
It's all good.
If I could get it from a sound bit, I'll take it.
There you go.
Well, welcome in, man.
Thank you for having me.
Very stoked to have you. So I've known Tommy and his wife Olivia for quite a while now. I feels like, I don't know how many years.
Since Pastor Cal, the staff at Pickerington, you guys came over and helped Aaron a couple times.
Yep. Yeah. So I think we've known each other for quite a while, and we'll get into the depth of the story. But I am blessed and excited that you and your wife and your family are now a part of the Shepherd crew, which I was very stoked, probably more selfishly than anything, but very stoked when you guys started coming on board. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of hear a little bit more about your story. Okay. And, you know, one of the things I love, and we've been trying to do more, like something I really believe in, and I know that we believe in as a church, is, you know, every face has a name, and every name has a story. Right. And I just want to hear some of yours, man. No and so, again, no pressure to tell me anything, but we'd love to hear your story. And so maybe kind of just take us back to the beginning, man. Like, was church a part of your life growing up? When did you meet Jesus? Yeah. Maybe we can start there. Like, how did you get introduced to the world of church in general?
I had a drug problem when I was young. Yeah? I was drugged to church. Hey. I mean, like out of the womb when I was crying, we're off to the first Sunday or the first service that's available. Yep. Growing up, I remember it wasn't just Sunday morning, Wednesday night, and Sunday morning for our church. If there was a revival anywhere with like a 20-mile radius, and Dad liked the preacher, you know, we were there also. So, it was, you know, I say that tongue in cheek, but you know, so I was pretty much assimilated as soon as I was born into the church thing. As far as music goes, the rumor is somewhere between 3 and 5. Mm-hmm. Mom and Dad, they used to sing a lot in church, and they're singing on the road going from Texas to Kentucky, and all of a sudden I hit a tenor part. And so that just opened up all kinds of possibilities, and Mom and Dad and I singing in church and everything like that. So started off at an early age. As far as coming to know Jesus, I remember going to the altar down in Turkey Creek Church, the Nazarene. Yeah, you had to really know where you're going to get there.
One of them back road churches.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
But a really young age, I remember Grandma coming up and praying with me and everything. But I would say I probably really didn't know Jesus and the power of his, you know, how he frees people and the freedom that he can give, and really met Jesus until I was like 30 years old. So I pretty much I'm a Christian for like 25 years instead of all my life.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's really cool to point out too. That's important, because I think a lot of people just assume that, like, you know, I was born at church and that means that I knew Jesus from day one. And that's not necessarily true.
Exactly.
And I think it's a huge testament to the fact that you can go to church your whole life and not know Jesus.
That's exactly right.
There's a lot of Christians out there that don't know Jesus.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's a really important distinction of what it actually means to know him.
Exactly.
Not know about him, but like know who he is.
Right.
And what he's about.
Yeah.
You know?
And I go, you know, the head knowledge and the heart knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, it always, to me, I think it still, you know, exists.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to get stuck in the old pattern, you know, and everything. And it's so easy to when you've, you know, been in that for so long. It's easy for that to just creep around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you got to say, nope, it's not about that. It's about this, and, you know, correct the mind and the thinking errors.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think it's a really common thing, maybe in every area of life, but I think specifically in church, because that's our world, is like, there's a lot of people that know so much about theology, and they know the Bible in and out, but they don't really know the love of Christ. Right. They have the knowledge of him. And like, I've met a lot of really smart Christians. and I've probably met more smart Christians than real ones, if that makes sense, you know? Yeah. Like, it's not a diss on people.
No.
You know, I feel like that's something I've been talking about a lot on the podcast lately, and maybe too much. It's funny, there's an episode we have coming out eventually that I'm really excited about. I was interviewing a good friend of mine who... she is a professor at Mount Vernon Nazarene University.
Okay.
And I had to catch myself mid-conversation because I'm getting into this, like, there's so many people that know about God, but they're really smart and they're going to school and coming out with degrees, but they don't know. Exactly. She's like, yeah, I mean, that's what we try to teach them. I was like, oh yeah, sorry, you're a professor. And I'm like openly trash talking. But gave a really cool perspective, you know, that both are really important and to bridge the two.
Right.
Like, I think, you know, a lot of times we don't. Either we have a really good head knowledge of Jesus and we forget to look for his heart.
Right.
Or we know so much about just his heart and we're like, oh, everything's good. God is love, yada, yada, yada. Like love. And we forget to put the head knowledge of it too.
Sure.
You know, there's a gap that we need to fill. and I often need to fill.
Good thing for the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. It's almost like it's very important, you know? It's like, it's a good piece of that. I love it. So one of the things we had mentioned that you are married to Olivia.
Yes.
And she unfortunately couldn't be with us on this episode, which is a bummer. But again, kind of selfishly for me, now I get 2 episodes out of you guys. So thanks. Just kidding. But we love Olivia. We love having her on the team. And so one of the things I wanted to get your perspective of is your wife, Olivia, is an ordained elder in the Church of Nazarene, correct? And so you two have served together because she sings. She's got a wonderful voice. She's been a worship leader. She's been a worship pastor. And you guys have got to like do that together for a really long time. But you work out in the quote unquote secular world. You know, you have a regular 9 to 5.
Right.
And so what is it like for you being on the other end of that, like pastoral worship leader, you know, you guys come as a package kind of situation? I'm always curious about that because, you know, being on the other side of that with my spouse is like, I often have to pause and be like, oh yeah, that's right. This isn't your world like it is mine.
Yeah.
You are a huge part of it.
Right.
And this is a big piece of your life.
Sure.
But like I often project stuff on her that's like, this isn't your world. You shouldn't have to deal with the things that I'm dealing with, you know? Right. So from your perspective, being on the other end of that, like what are some things you like about doing that? Maybe what are some difficult things? You know, just kind of walk me through what that looks like for you too.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's been an easy transition. I went back and forth with a call and, you know, I won't go into detail, but unfortunately, you know, I'm not able to pursue that call because of my past. And that has to go along with the 30-year, you know, or when I was 30 years old when I found Jesus you know, and she just kept on, you know, teaching, you know, loves to teach the word, great teacher of the word. I mean, so the insight that she gets and everything, and she just loved it when she first started out being staffed in church, and she just, you know, kept on and, you know, went for her first district license and went through the whole thing and started preaching and was like, you know what, I really like preaching. I love to preach the word. And her dad was a preacher. Her grandfather was a preacher. And on her mother's side, she has like, you know, great grandfathers and family that were preachers, cousins that were preachers. So it's in her blood.
That's awesome.
And, you know, I was just, you know, babe, you know, if you say that you need to get, you know, you need to preach. Yeah. If you say you need to get ordained, I'm right there behind you, 100%. You're not going to run.
Right.
I'm not going to allow you to. I don't care how hard it gets. I've been there.
Yeah.
I did it. You're not going to do it, you know, and so I support you 100%. As far as the worship stuff, you know, that's been easy too, because I've been on many worship teams.
Yes,
that
you have.
I am not a worship leader.
Right.
But I know when I am worshiping. Yes. I know when the Spirit comes and hits me.
Yeah.
It's as far as the facilitation or who is up there, I would probably lean on performance just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And that's still been working out even in my own life.
Right.
You know, it was great to sing with mom and dad. It was great to do all that, but man, it got showy sometimes. And I hope they're not watching. I love you, mom and dad.
Right.
You know, it was hard to, am I really worshiping or is it just for show? You know?
Right.
And so she's helped me with that. Pastor Kevin, who's been our pastor at 2 churches.
Shout out, Kevin,
my bro. He's been instrumental in that. And there was a conversation we had where he said, worship never happens until the word is preached, according to John Wesley.
Yeah.
And that totally turned my world around. Why do we do music then?
Right, right.
And
what is this thing we do?
Yeah, but deeper is if I am up there and the worship leader entrusts me, it's not just about the music then.
Right. Yeah.
But I still have that pride, Zach. I mean, I want to prepare. I want to come ready. I don't want to do anything that's going to distract. And for me, a bad note,
right,
a cracking note when I sing and just can't get enough air or whatever. So, but she has been instrumental, and she is, go back to the original point, fantastic worship leader. Yeah. I mean, just full of discernment, knows when, and just in tune with the Spirit as far as going into where it needs to go. Yeah. And I'm just along for the ride, as far as the technical stuff. I'm not techie. She'll ask me, honey, do I need to sing here? I said, babe, you sing whatever. And I'll just, don't worry about that part.
Right.
I got that covered.
Right.
You worry about, facilitating worship and leading us into worship. So, we're a pretty good team.
Yeah, you are.
Pretty sad. Last weekend, when we weren't here, we were down. She was preaching. She wanted me to sing a song, which is, you talk about a worship highlight. First time I sang it was when Mackenzie was born in 2020 during COVID. Ooh. So we couldn't be there. Ooh. A lot of complications going on.
Yeah.
We didn't know if we were going to have her or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it got that bad.
Dang.
And the Sunday morning, we realized she's okay. And Aaron Van Valkenburg, the worship leader at Picknaz, says, hey, sing Good to Me today. Zack Williams' song. And,
dang.
And I had my Poppy, my favorite people call me Poppy shirt on, So, yeah, I mean, so it's just, he has been good, man. He's a good God.
Yeah.
He really has been.
Yep. That's something I love about worship lyrics. Like, a lot of times people, they I don't want to say this lovingly. People think that there is not a lot of depth or truth or theological accuracy in newer worship songs. And you can think that. That's okay. I'll let you.
Sure.
I might not agree with you. Because I look at situations like this, and it's like in that moment, you weren't singing a song, you were singing an answered prayer.
Exactly.
Like you were literally worshiping out of an experience that you were walking through in that moment.
Yeah. And
how could it not be a highlight, right?
Absolutely.
To walk through something that could have been extraordinarily devastating at a crazy time in everybody's life.
Right. Absolutely.
And to be able to sing something like, God, you're good to me. Yeah. Because I mean it.
Right.
I'm not just singing that because it's a lyric. Like, I mean that.
Yeah.
That's huge, dude. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But,
you're
good.
But it doesn't have to be, I don't have to be up there.
Right.
Like
right.
This past Sunday morning is another good example. I mean, I could have got wrapped into the emotional part of Banks and Sadie, my grandkids being rededicated.
Which was awesome.
You got to sing gratitude. But it was more than that.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking about all the things that I'm grateful for. And then the music part of Tommy just heard some minor chords coming from the piano.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff like, because I have the ability to listen to everything that goes on. Yeah. And that's why I love music so much. If music was ripped out of my life, man, I don't know what I would do.
Right.
I really don't. But so that to me, it's just enhances. It's not that, I don't even think it's talent.
Yeah.
It's just what it does to the song and it just caps off like everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And it just, dude, man, that's just like, it's even more than icing on the cake. It's hard, but I was already misty-eyed and shout out to Greg,
right.
The dam broke, man.
Yeah.
And so, the highlights in worship, man, and it's not just about music, but when we're doing music as part of the service. Yeah. What do we call it worship or not anymore?
Right. Whatever that moment is. Worship through song. I don't know. Whatever it is.
Yeah. There's all kinds of highlights. Right. And I've noticed and this is, please don't take this the wrong way. And I think it's because of where we've come from in such a short time of grieving with a friend and with a mother-in-law. Yeah. That these songs impact me in a different way that, Zach, I've not really been available to until I've started doing this at Shepherd. And that's a lot about your heart. And it's a lot about the people here. It's a lot about, the staff. I'm just thankful that I don't have to be up there. and I can still feel, God move and hit.
Yeah, man.
And, through the words and even through the music, and everything. So,
yeah. Well, I think thank you. Because I don't take that with like that was a Zack thing. Because my prayer for our team and what we've really been trying to do, since day one that I've been here, and again, this is not a diss on anything that's happened in the past, but there was a time where it felt like there was a little bit of performance. That performance was taking over presence. Yeah. And, so my prayer has always been like, God, I just want people to experience you. Right. That's all I want. And in the way that we lead and in the way that we do our team huddles and our practices, it's like, we want to sound good, but at the end of the day, like, I just want you to worship Jesus through what you're doing. Yeah. And, Greg is one of those guys that can do that.
Absolutely.
Like, he doesn't need a microphone to lead worship.
No, he doesn't.
It comes through his piano playing.
Yeah, right.
And there's a lot of really good piano players out there. But I feel like our whole team is getting really close, if not already to a place where, like, we say that every person's a worship leader. Right. And we don't mean through position or hierarchy. Like, there are worship leaders who lead the team, who lead the congregation. Right. But leading worship in like mirroring it or being the example of it, I see our team do it all the time. Yeah. And when I hear somebody plucking on a guitar or playing piano, or even the way that the drummers like come in and play certain things, it's like, that's their worship.
Exactly.
And that even goes as far as like, I look at some of the things that happen on our tech team where I'm like, man, that camera shot was worship. They capturing something that was holy in that moment. Yeah. And I love seeing what God's doing. Yeah. So I love that you're catching that. I love that. and I feel like we're seeing it, it's not an overnight thing, and everybody worships different too. So being able to just hopefully steward that's our goal. It's just, God's given us these gifts and we want to use them to point people back to him.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that you're experiencing that, dude. But it does go back to, I want to continue this part of the conversation because of something you said. Like when you mentioned that, Olivia is a worship leader and you wouldn't say you're a worship leader, quote unquote, right?
The hierarchy position thing.
Exactly. And so that's why, to me, it's like one thing I love about you and Olivia is you lead worship through like your humble spirits too. And, it's very easy in the worship world. I'm not saying our church, just big C church, worship world in general, because the world has made worship an industry and a market.
Right, exactly.
That like it's really easy for pride to sneak in.
Sure.
You said it, like we both struggle with that too. It's like, there are days I come in, I'm like, I want to be on it today. Yeah. Like, I want this to sound good.
Exactly.
If I'm being transparent at the time of this recording, one of the songs that we're singing on Sunday, I'm like, I got to nail this. Right. Because if I don't, it's going to suck. And I don't want it to suck. But at the end of the day, it's like, all right, but get back to the heart of worship. Right. And so, how do I want to ask this? And maybe it's not a question. Maybe it's just me giving you a big head. I don't know. But like the way that you're able to sit in a congregation and worship just as much as you would up on a platform, how do you go about finding that for your life? Like, do you think it's from your past experiences? Do you think it's a moment that just kind of clicked? Is it a muscle that you have to work out often? What does that look like for you?
I would say, and I try not to lean on this, and I do believe that I was freed, 30 years ago, but sometimes it is on past experience. Right. And I need to go back to where I laid it down and where I felt that, and, so the past experiences, but also, sometimes Zack, it's a moment that clicks, right? Like I'm always listening to music. I do have it on shuffle, it may not be worship music all the time, but the worship music does come up. Yeah. And I'm sitting there just focusing on the words and focusing on maybe and I try not to make it emotional, but I can maybe go back to a time where that song really spoke to me, and that's probably why it still speaks to me today. Right. Doesn't mean it's less powerful. It's just for that moment, bam, it happened again. You know what I mean? I do have my favorite songs that I'll listen to. As far as there's some that I may not listen to as much. Some worship song, I'm like, well, I've been singing that since like 2008, and I think, that'll just be deleted.
Right. We don't have to sing this one again, right?
But But the thing, ask about the muscle, Zach, it's almost like I feel the muscle is getting more toned. Almost, I don't know I guess tone may not be the best word for it, but it's almost like, it's like looking to, am I? And, and looking to worshiping, and, does it have to be music? Not necessarily, man. I've been paying attention and watching a lot of YouTube shorts, and there are some powerful, what do they call content? There's powerful content.
Yeah.
If you go look for, and it speaks to me, man. And I'm like, the misty eyes coming up and just thinking about like, I was watching a short, for example, a guy named Alistair Begg, Scottish preacher from up north, talking about, the man, that said, when Jesus said, today you'll be with me in paradise. He's going through this whole shtick about, he gets to heaven, an angel meets him, and you are, and, do you know this about the Bible? Not really. I'm not, are you acclimated to this? Do you know any? No. Hold on, let me get my supervisor. So like the angel supervisor comes in and steps in and takes control. And, well, I don't know what we're going to do. Why are you here? He said, the man in the middle said I could come. Man, so, talk about worship, a worship moment. Right. Just an example. Yeah. It's like I'm looking more than I ever have been. Because I want it to be the flow of my life. Yeah. That it's a life of worship. It's a life turned back to Him. Yeah. There's a lot of different. I don't have to go through details, but there's a lot of circumstances in the family dynamic. That I want to know that some of these people that are entering into our family, they know who Jesus is, right. And they may not be where they need to be on their journey, but they're on a journey. Right. They may not be there now. Right. And it's not Tommy or Olivia's place to, just listen to the Holy Spirit. Right. And I told, we've been talking about this, and I'm like, babe, maybe all we do is just, when they're over, they see something different. And if they see a difference, then it leads them back to them, then that's all we really need to do. Let the Holy Spirit take care of it, Yeah. So I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, but
no, it's good.
But I do feel like first time in my life that I'm the muscle is like getting acclimated to look for the opportunity to be worked out.
That's good. That's real good. Yeah. It reminds me of a reel I saw that I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but essentially it was like, preach all the time and sometimes use words. It's like the way we live our lives is a form of worship back to the Lord. Exactly. And I think that especially comes in with the content that we consume. Oh, yeah. It's so easy to get on any kind of social media or media at all and see the worst of the worst, stuff that you can't imagine searching is just popping up in your news feed. Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, so to be able to have that discipline in worship and just say like, nope, I'm going to seek out good. I'm going to seek out things that build life.
Exactly.
And then having that flow into literally just the way that you're living, literally the way that you just carry yourself in your house, the way that you love people that come in and welcome them and just live a life that points people to Jesus. Right. That's worship, man. Yeah. That's worship. And that has nothing to do with a melody or a bass or, a click track in the background or whatever, that's just, that's just worship.
Exactly.
So that's awesome, man. Well, my friend, I think it's time we wrap this puppy up because it's been so good talking to you.
Oh, it's always good talking to you, man.
Tommy, I love you, buddy. I appreciate you being on here. And I think that's a perfect way and maybe a challenge for all of us. It feels like I don't want to ever feel like a broken record, but, worship is so much more than music, man.
That's right.
Like worship is a discipline. It's a muscle we have to flex that, to be able to seek out good and turn our eyes from evil to live a life that's worship. Right. And so that's my challenge for everybody listening, man. Maybe you're in that where, you're having a hard time seeking it out. My prayer for you today is that you can have the focus and desire to seek out the Lord in your everyday life. And if you need help with that, reach out to us. We love you, Tommy. Thanks for coming on.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day, everybody.
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.